So I kind of have to make it clear, though. I mean, who would give me estrogen than testosterone? Estrogen. Mostly estrogen most of the time because I make enough testosterone myself. So if I don't get estrogen for a certain period of time, I create enough testosterone, and I just, my voice is low again, and etc. Uh, Things get back to normal with my sex drive. Anyway, so, I mean, I do. I asked myself it in the beginning. Yes, the government and their doctors and their, whatever agents or whatever who were trying to train me to be their little soldier. And that's what started. And after that, it was, again, the government and the rich, because they were exploiting me, and they wanted me to be a certain way, and they wanted me to be more docile, and in some ways it did, in some ways it made me actually more crazy. That's the truth. It made me more vicious and aggressive to get estrogen. I'm actually a lot calmer, a lot more easier going when I'm more natural on my testosterone. And when I get estrogen, I tend to go kind of out of whack a little bit and get a bit aggressive, hateful, a bit vicious. It's true. No, I'm not saying that that's, it's just the way estrogen is, but I think it's because estrogen doesn't belong in my body, So, because it doesn't belong in my body, I have very violent reactions to it. I mean, I guess that's just natural. And I mean, obviously during the last years, the estrogen was for the purpose of hiding my voice. Because, the government at first was the one, teaching me all these things, making me into a little soldier, teaching me all these languages. And then after that, when all the accident happened and that night happened where the girls got raped and I got raped and there was the fight and there was other stuff that happened. Well, after that night, and I don't know, it just seems like things got worse, and what they decided to do with me, that was the thing. Instead of just letting me live my life, they decided to exploit me, see what I was capable of, pick me apart, basically. And when they exploited me, well, they used my voice. They used my voice many times. They even told me at times that actually tenors like me are rare, and they're not that common, and, they even made it clear just in the last year that, at one point I got my voice back. I was able to sing, because when on estrogen, I can't sing the same. It destroys my voice. It destroys, I don't know what it does exactly to my vocal cords, but it does something to my jaw for sure. My jaw on estrogen tends to be higher up. And that's one of the things that made me suffer, probably the most. I mean, during the last 15, 20 years. My jaw, literally, I couldn't open it very much, and I couldn't chew for long periods. I could only chew a little bit. I couldn't eat things that were really crunchy, like chips. If I ate chips for too long, I get a sore jaw, and literally, sometimes it freezes. It's like that. I can't even hardly open it at all. I even had a moment where that happened where I couldn't open my mouth hardly at all for weeks. And that's probably one of the worst parts that hurts. There's also my hips. My hips, there's a few times in the past too, they hurt like crazy. And even in the last year, that was obvious too. At one point, I got less estrogen, and I noticed things started changing. Strangely enough, even my sexuality. And I noticed it, and then poof, these Hollywood stars just like, oh, you're gonna lose your voice, and it was like, it was almost like in my face. It was almost like a game they were playing with my head. It's like, government and them. It's like they go hand in hand, and most of the time they do, because they have money, they have power, they can influence anybody. And I've seen it, they can influence anybody. And this year it was just like so obvious, the estrogen. It was like in my face and completely obvious. And it was like they warned me I wasn't going to be able to sing anymore. And you know what? That's when I got estrogen like crazy. And I got so much estrogen this time around. I mean, my voice like it completely changed. And during that whole time, I was in excruciating pain. My hips and it's like my ribs hurt. My my back, like my back, and my ankles and my calves. It's like they hurt like crazy during that time. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I just what happens. But I knew the pain, and it was like it was actually a lot better because I mean I could sing, I could open my mouth, and then they just I don't know. I guess they didn't like that, and they had to stop it. And that's when it was obvious. It was because before they started giving me estrogen like crazy, because this year it was like in June and July. It was absurd how much they were giving me. I mean, in July, I couldn't even, sit in my apartment. I had to stay out of there for some reason. I was like, how are they giving it to me? You know, I'm not really sure. I think they were doing it through aerosol. I think they were doing it in the air. But, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but look, it was obvious. It was obvious. It was, and I'd be surprised, if nobody noticed it. I mean, some people, of course they noticed. Some people even told me they saw a difference, but I had to stay out of my apartment as much as possible because the estrogen was excruciating. It felt like my head was shrinking. Everything was changing about my face. My lips were getting more full. My chin was moving upwards. It hurt like, and my jaw was moving upward. It hurt like crazy. It was like you could hardly even see an Adam's apple before. And most of the time you can't really see it. I'm thin. I'm very small. I'm a very slim guy, and you could hardly see it. And then it's like there's so much pain that's caused by giving a man estrogen. I mean, I don't even understand how these transsexuals do it. I mean, it hurts. It hurts a lot. Your face and your head hurts. And I was just taking, Tylenol like crazy to try to stop the pain because it was excruciating. You feel like your head is shrinking. And you feel like your hips too, they hurt. It's like that was so obvious when they started giving me estrogen like crazy. Because I don't know, I guess they just saw, well, Stefan got his voice back, so somehow, some way, I wasn't getting estrogen back for a while. Or maybe it was because they wanted me to record some more songs. Who knows exactly what happened, exactly why, I didn't have as much estrogen in my body, but it's like, at least things were getting back to normal. At least I wasn't suffering like hell. But that didn't last. In June and in July, it's like, they were going all the way. I mean, I couldn't even sleep in my bed. I couldn't even sleep for more than a few hours at a time, because if I would wake up in excruciating pain. So, the worst is, the skull is one of the worst ones. But I mean, the hips, it can be very painful. I mean, at one point I could hardly walk because of that. I mean, I'm a person who loves to walk, and I'm a very active person. I love to do sports, and I love to move. I do rollerblading. I do all kinds of sports. I love it. But it's like, when they're giving me estrogen, a lot of estrogen, well, I can't do very much. It hurts too much. Or when they're not giving me estrogen at all. Actually, I think sometimes that's the worst. Because then it seems like things are trying to get back, you know, to their more original state. So it hurts, actually even more. But at least once that's done, then I'm not in pain for a while, you know. Then I'm okay. Once, you know, the estrogen is gone and I have my testosterone, you know, naturally in my body within, then it's okay. Like, generally, it's okay. It's pretty good. So, anyway, it comes down to that. And at first, it was the government, and then after that, it was the government and the rich, and, you know, working together to continue exploiting me. Well, so, I mean, I don't know, it sounds crazy, but everybody out there, everyone, there's not a person who hasn't listened to music somewhere on earth that hasn't heard my voice. My voice is probably actually the voice that people have been listening to more than any other voice in the world. So anyway, it's just a short video to tell you this. And I know, it sounds crazy, but hey, this world is crazy. If you only knew.